If it ain't woke, don't miss it. Slightly confusing tagline. Every word here is filtered through that faith-based perspective. Gags flatter than Taylor Swift's butt? There's a significant number of inappropriate and sexually suggestive gags throughout the episode. Like a little bit where you make a gag about Taylor Swift's butt? Like a sexist kind of sexual joke like that? Maximize your worth it or woke experience while helping us to fight the woke mind virus.
No, I don't think I will.
They're going to make it sound as if her coming out was a spiritual rebirth as profound as baptism. You're not allowed to have an experience that rivals my special experience. I think they made some of the creature enemies less sexy as well. Hello lovely people, my name is Emma. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new. Today we're going to look at the topic of movies, and we're going to ask a simple question. Is it worth it or woke? By which I mean we're looking at a slightly deranged conservative website built on user reviews of movies. It's a simple premise. They let you know if there's anything woke about it, if it's too political, if there's too many whammons or people of colour. You know, the kind of stuff that ruins a movie. I'm imagining it's mostly going to be populated by films of recent years, but I've got my fingers crossed that we can find some reviews from my favourite films. Oh, I should turn on my C-Ray. That's nice. Calming vibes for probably an infuriating video. I've never understood this whole, don't want no politics in my movie kind of thing. It's baffling to me. Honestly, it kind of smacks of ignorance. I understand wanting a break from the news, of maybe having a personal reaction to certain types of stories and not wanting to engage with that type of story right now. I totally get that, but the kind of people that think movies aren't political, everything's political. You know, they're the kind of people that say Star Wars is now too woke, like it hasn't always been about overthrowing the space Nazis. I also find it a little disheartening when folks say they try to avoid politics in general, because again, I understand that it can be overwhelming and you might want to pace yourself with it, but politics dictates your everyday life. Politics dictates the price of your groceries and your rent, your neighbour's well-being, the education system, whether your grandchildren will be able to afford a home. It affects everything in life, so being completely departed intentionally from politics just strikes me as privileged and ignorant, if I'm gonna be that kind of woke person that says that kind of thing. If you clicked on this video thinking that this was gonna be a conservative anti-woke person, sorry to have wasted your time. I hope you have a lovely day. I think it's more important than ever to stay up to date politically and with the news. I'm going to show you the best way using today's sponsor, Ground News. Ground News is an independent platform, subscriber funded. The entire point is to make plain the biases, the factuality ratings, the ownership of the news sources that you're reading. Here's a relevant story that passed across my desk recently. Pentagon to overhaul independent military newspaper Stars and Stripes, calling it woke. You can see here we have 104 total sources. We can see how many lean left, right, and centre. The bias distribution is mostly centre. 91% of our sources are high factuality. That's great news for us. Here is an amazing example of the difference between a left-leaning and a right-leaning. Headline, Business Insider, high factuality lean left. Stars and Stripes staff fear the Pentagon is coming for the newspaper and their jobs. The Epoch Times, independent, high factuality lean right. Pentagon to remove woke distractions from Stars and Stripes publications. I find Ground News helps so much, not just in helping me understand a story, but helping me understand what people on different sides of the political spectrum are reading. I highly recommend subscribing to Ground News. Go to groundnews.com/Emma Thorne or scan my QR code, click the link down below, get yourself 40% off the Vantage plan. That gives you unlimited access to all features. Plus, you're supporting an independent organisation that is helping to make the news more transparent. Thank you so much for checking it out, and to Ground News for sponsoring this video. Welcome to Worth It or Woke. If it ain't woke, don't miss it. Slightly confusing tagline, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I love this pop-up. Get notified of our newest reviews. You either allow, or you say, no, I'm too woke. I don't know why, I guess because they're a superhero, but this person's hands are so muscular. Oh look, it says the name of the image. Superman, Worth It or Woke homepage, 1920 by 500. Good to know. Clear, in-depth, anti-woke reviews of movies, television, and kids' entertainment, helping families make informed viewing choices without the agenda. But it does have an agenda. It has an anti-woke agenda. It said that at the beginning of the sentence. Oh, go on. Alright, we'll start with Melania. What does Worth It or Woke think about Melania? I bet they love it. There's 2 reviews. 1 of 2 recommended it. 100% worth it. A+ overall, but only because there's only 1 review and no vetted critic reviews. Overall, I'm happy we saw this movie and it gave us a glimpse into the life of Flotus. The movie was a little long and boring at times. 5 stars. Some of the scenes felt overly scripted. One of the song renditions, Amazing Grace, was very odd and distracting. Plus, near the middle, there was a strange shift to start interspersing old-timey video shots for no apparent reason. We had been hoping for a little more meat to the content of the movie, but it was interesting to see things from Melania's perspective, and to see the type of persona she wanted to project into the world. All in all, my high school daughter and I would recommend people see it, but don't go in with too high of expectations. Trump, being Trump, brought some humour to the film, which also helped pass the time. Melania is a beautiful, classy, composed woman, and we are lucky to have her as Flotus. It was boring, there was distracting music, felt overly scripted, there was random interspersing of old-timey videos. Overall, we would recommend it, but don't have your hopes too high, is the only review. So recently I watched 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, and we really enjoyed it. Didn't think there was anything overtly political about it, except for the one character being Jimmy Savile. But I mean, that's not a particularly political thing. I think everyone agrees he was evil. Worth It or Woke grade C does not include Wokometer score. Oh, you have to unlock the Wokometer. Do you have to unlock it by paying something? Maximize your Worth It or Woke experience while helping us to fight the woke mind virus.
No, I don't think I will.
Audience scores, what the audience is saying, 0% worth it, 25% woke based on 1 vote. The critics are saying not worth it and 50% woke. Meaningless. That's the word that best describes The Bone Temple. What a strange way to describe any film. It's 2 hours of world building for a world that's already been built. Gosh, I really couldn't disagree more. How interesting. The woke report is hidden. Fuck, am I gonna have to give them $1? That's utterly infuriating. Oh look, here's the founder, James Carrick. Oh, and he's put a quote from Isaiah. I'm James Carrick, founder of Worth It or Woke. My mission? To protect you and your family from Hollywood's rampant woke nonsense. Preachy movies? Preachy movies. Bro's just put a quote from Isaiah. Hello, are we on the same planet? I built this site from scratch with just $500 and a prayer, guided by my Christian faith and a conviction that truth and discernment still matter. Every review, every rating, every word here is filtered through that faith-based perspective. After Google partially demonetized us and Norton falsely marked our site as malicious. Okay, now I'm thinking maybe I don't want to give this guy $1. What if my card details disappear somewhere on the internet? 77 pence of my hard-earned cash just to see the woke report. The story isn't complex enough to support genuinely layered characters. I'm not going to give my thoughts because it's a new film and I don't want to spoil it, but this is very counter to my experience. I think a lot of people just don't view movies with much brain power. Does that mean to say? I do think that, though. I didn't mark down the Wokometer down much because even though she's a girl boss, just a female character being in it and not being like a pregnant housewife makes her a girl boss, she doesn't really do much of anything throughout the movie. It's not true. It's just not true. She does quite a considerable amount. Spike, whose entire character arc in the last film is discovering his inner strength and overcoming his fear, has been reduced to a meek weakling in this film. No, he's just still a child. Wow. Well, that was so worth it. Well, based on that, one review, they've said it's 90% based. And I guess I agree with that. Let's see if there's any classic films on here. Do you think anyone has rated Citizen Kane? I feel like probably not. Avatar, Fire and Ash, Megalopolis, Jesus Revolution. Oh, Iron Lung. What do the people think about Iron Lung? Iron Lung can't be woke, right? 100% worth it, 13% woke. Iron Lung is the Markiplier directed film, which is very exciting, and apparently it's doing rather well, which is also exciting. There's nothing. No one has said anything. This website sucks. This isn't worth 77p for an hour. Nobody's using it. That's a good thing, though. That is a good thing. No fucker is using this website to post any reviews. 1 star for the new Muppet Show? Disney's reboot of the Muppet Show is exactly the abortion that you'd expect from Seth Rogen. 5% on Is It Funny? Come on. Nightmarishly bad Kermit voice casting? Who is Kermit right now? Matt Vogel. I mean, I have a knee-jerk reaction sometimes to, a different voice actor being a very iconic character like Kermit, so I kind of understand that, but Matt Vogel, I apologize. I've hated his voice for Kermit for so long. After watching, I think it clicked. Something about the way he was directed in the special that worked for me. So a lot of people just had to, like I said, just get over the initial shock of it being a different voice. Gags flatter than Taylor Swift's butt? Do you have to, be sexist every now and then to prove yourself anti-woke? Is that really the faith-based mindset? What the fuck is the guy that created this show? James. I thought this was about protecting your family, particularly protecting your daughters. Is making sexist jokes about female celebrities' butts really in line with that? Because I don't think it is. One rule for me, another for you. God's name is taken in vain a couple of times. Once it's spoken and again in a song. Grow up. It's 2026. Grow the fuck up. There's a significant number of inappropriate and sexually suggestive gags throughout the episode. Like a little bit where you make a gag about Taylor Swift's butt being flat, like that kind of thing. Like a sexist kind of sexual joke like that. James? I've always found this weird, right? Because the Muppets, the original Muppets show that I loved, that I watched and loved, was very much for adults. It was guests that adults would enjoy. The wink wink nudge nudge adult humor that has always been present in kids shows and kids movies and family stuff. It wasn't really a show for kids. That's what the Sesame Street was. The Muppet Show is kind of the grown-up version. Like, Kermit's getting angry about organising the show and he's trying to do his admin while everyone's pissing about. It was always kind of grown up. I think at some point it got Disneyfied, right? Disney own it. Disney make everything as kid-friendly as they can. But again, even if it's for kids, having little jokes that only adults will get is just a thing that's a thing that adults enjoy in kids programming. That's the kind of a thing that makes adults laugh and enjoy going to the theatre with their kids, Having Kermit flirt with a guest is iconic. The Muppets. It's always been like that. Kermit's always been like that. That's the Muppets. The sexism in this bit of the website is disgusting. Kermit apologizes for this is about Sabrina Carpenter. Kermit apologizes for a kink earlier in the program. Sabrina tells him that she likes a little kink. Do you get it? The joke is that she's a slut. No, it's not. No, you've just made that up because you don't like Sabrina Carpenter. For whatever reason. A joke about liking a little kink doesn't mean that somebody's a slut. Oh, I feel like I shouldn't have to say that. Later in the same bit, Carpenter lists to Kermit all of the things that she had to turn down to make time to guest host. One of them was a second date with somebody whose name she whispers to Kermit. Surprised, he asks her if the man in question is single. She says no. Do you get it? She's a whore and a homewrecker. Are we surprised that this faith-based thinking, family-friendly, protect your daughters, false, gooey, I'm just a nice Christian and I want nice Christian things, that's why I made this website. Are we surprised that all falls apart immediately when we get into the reviews that betray just undeniable, repulsive sexism? This is a review of the new series of The Muppet Show. The mini review at the top makes a dig out of nowhere at Taylor Swift's bum size, and then goes on to call the female guest a slut, a whore, and a homewrecker. And we're supposed to believe that this is for the purposes of a family-friendly, protect your girls, protect your daughters approach to film and TV. This attitude being pervasive, this idea that just by doing this or saying this or making this joke, women are inherently sluts and whores, that is what gets women hurt. That's what gets women beaten, murdered, assaulted. This fuck doesn't give a shit about women, about protecting girls. It's about protecting girls from knowing their own worth, from knowing that they're better than men that call them things like this, and sit around making pathetic, half-assed jokes about the size of women's bums. Toxic muppulinity. The opening skit features male puppets acting poorly while Carpenter sings a song that calls men slow, stupid, and useless. Imagine calling men slow, stupid, and useless. says the person who just called women sluts and whores and talked about their asses. It's kind of unbelievable that anyone is anyone fooled by this? Or do the kind of men, because it's just men, let's be honest, the kind of men that use this website know. They're all in on this agenda. They all know that actually we do hate women. We are sexist, and we just want to ogle their bodies and talk about their bodies whilst criticising them for being sexual themselves. And we all know that we're doing that, and we all agree to use this faith-based, family-friendly, anti-woke agenda as a cover. That's got to be what it is, right? Gosh, I didn't expect to be so angered by the Muppets review. There's the Muppets. What if a kid read that? What if a little girl read that? Family-friendly, faith-based values. Oh, go on. Stranger Things Season 5. I really enjoyed it. I thought the whole show was great. I thought it was a brilliant ending. Stranger Things ends with a whimper. Season 5 is a rambling, bloated mess. I bet they hated the coming out part. I bet that's why they hated the whole thing. I bet they hate it because it's got girls. It's got girls who are cool. Girl bosses, they might call them. And it's got a gay character coming out as an important part of his story. 85% woke. Oh, look, they've put all pretty rainbows over it. Oh, that's so cute. I love that. Is that how you spell Millie Bobby Brown's name? Yeah. No, they have misspelt her name. I thought I was going crazy. There's 2 L's in Millie Bobby Brown. They've not even spelled the main cast member's name right. Season 5 plays like a show that's forgotten what made it special. I disagree so hard. Go on, tell me the woke report. Did you forget that Robin was a lesbian? Well, don't worry. They're going to remind you. Often. More than that, they're going to make it sound as if her coming out was a spiritual rebirth as profound as baptism. My special thing from my special religion is way more important than anybody else's special thing. You're not allowed to have an experience that rivals my special experience because that makes mine feel less special. Because I have main character syndrome. Maybe her coming out was a spiritual rebirth. You can't dictate that. They're going to remind you often is because Robin has a girlfriend. And it's set in the 80s, and part of her arc, obviously skip all of these sections if you don't want spoilers for any of these TV shows. I feel like that goes without saying. She has a girlfriend. Because of the nature of when the show is set, she's anxious about people knowing that she's a lesbian. If you look at a character like Steve Harrington, most of his character is about his desire to have a relationship. And his relationships with girls. It is constantly mentioned. Throughout season 5, there is this kind of love triangle thing going on where 2 of the boys like one of the girls. But nobody would ever say, did you forget Steve was straight? Because they're going to mention it all the time. That's okay. We're allowed to talk about how Steve Harrington likes girls and likes this girl and wants to date a girl and wants to have children. We're allowed to hear about that all the time because straight is normal. We're not allowed to see Robin kissing her girlfriend because that's weird. So if we mention that more than once, then that is woke and unacceptable, and not just because she is also a character in a relationship. I hate this part. Robin's lesbian arc from season 3+ is being used to... It's not an arc, it's a part of her character. It's part of who she is. It's not like an arc that is reserved for one season and then she becomes asexual and we never mention it again from season 4 onwards. Stupid. It's being used to grease the wheels of Will's coming out narrative for the season. He hasn't explicitly indicated that he will do so, but the dialogue between the two is incredibly unnatural. I disagree, and I think it's very rich for a anti-woke homophobe to say whether dialogue about potentially coming out is unnatural. How the hell would you know? I found it deeply moving. It clearly points to him trying to muster up the courage to do so while he ponders whether his lifelong buddy Mike would be interested in banging. Don't forget the boys are still school-age teens. James, you don't forget these are school-age teens. There's nothing about banging between the boys in the show. At the very end, when they're older, you see him, like, holding hands with somebody at the bar. There is no indication. There's clearly I think I had a crush on you when you were younger, and it's dealt with in the most beautiful way because Mike doesn't feel the panic and revulsion that James feels seeing this on the television. He does his best to reassure him that I'm still going to be your best friend forever. Nothing's going to change that. It's wonderful. The person who has thought up these teenage boys banging, the person who has come up with the concept of these teenage boys want to have sex with each other, that's James. James watching it has thought that. That's not in the show. It's not hinted at in the show. Remember, these are school-age teens. He's come up with that and written that down and is criticising other people for now having the thought of these teenage boys wanting to have sex put in their head by James. Now I'm thinking, with all of the sexualizing of girls that we've seen so far, and now this with the boys, is he just a predator? Is that why there have been web hosts taking issue with this website? Is there something weirdly predatory about the creator of this website? Because what the fuck? Don't forget these boys are school-age teens? Yeah, don't forget. You're the first person to come up with the notion that they want to bang. That was you. An adult man. I love Linda Hamilton as much as any man who grew up in the 80s, but can we not pretend she doesn't look like a 90-pound grandmother now? Just to reinforce how sexist he is, women aren't allowed to age. Can we not pretend that she's not older now? She's supposed to be intimidating, but she's an older lady. And older ladies can't have jobs that are intimidating. Older ladies can't be tough and impactful. Wow, that was amazingly sexist and gross. Predator Badlands. Predator Badlands was great. Totally different tonally than the previous movies, but absolutely excellent for it. Predator Badlands is an erratic tonal cacophony that reduces the brand to a children's adventure series. I wonder what James's experience in critiquing film and television is. I tend to talk about this stuff because I love film, because I studied and worked in film and television. Many, many years of analysing film and TV and making film and TV go into me talking about this online. I'm not saying that's necessary to be able to critique film and TV, but sometimes I do wonder where some of these thoughts come from. Predator Badlands is dumb. So very, very dumb. The poorly written, comma, it shouldn't be there, series of cliches that the film's writers and director call a script is nuked from orbit by Elle Fanning's Buddy the Elf synth and scene after scene of clashing narrative vibes. Disagree. You know we're in it for the woke report. It's got a woman in it. Okay, it's got a woman as a main character, so that's obviously bad. Obviously, robots have no actual gender, no matter what they're designed to look like, but forgiving the fact that it doesn't make sense to send soft-skinned anthropomorphic androids to hunt massive violent creatures, why in the world would you send one the size of Elle Fanning? Why aren't they all 7-foot-tall behemoths who can better stand toe-to-toe with whatever is out there? I mean, that's a question for the franchise, right? I strongly suspect they've never considered the obviously robots don't have gender when it comes to male synths from earlier in the Alien franchise. First of all, don't call them robots. You know they're synthetics. If you're gonna pretend to be an Alien fan, don't call synths fucking robots. Synths do have gender, I would argue, because they are built gendered, and they use gendered pronouns. So robots don't have gender is kind of a weird thing to say anyway, and also betrays a complete lack of knowledge about the franchise and lack of respect for the franchise and its accurate terminology, so I'm a big Alien fan, as you well know. I suppose what they're arguing is that sending a small female robot is just getting the woke agenda across. But surely this would be a problem if they sent a small male-presenting robot, if you don't think that robots have gender. So what's woke about this problem that they have with the universe, with Weyland-Yutani's synth design? There's nothing woke there, except that in this case it happens to be a woman who plays the role. And they just hate women. Okay, what about Frankenstein? It looks like people like Frankenstein, which is so interesting, because Frankenstein, I would say, is very political. Beautiful designs and exquisite performances. 1% woke. If there's a single instance of woke, they gotta comb for something woke. Surely, if there's a single instance, then that's not wokeness, that's just representation, isn't it? If there's a single instance of wokeness, it is that where in the original the character of Elizabeth embodied the traditional 19th century feminine ideal, Guillermo made his Elizabeth a lover of science with an astute scientific mind. And that loses you a point. For modernizing enough to have the female character be a lover of science, be academically minded, loses you a point. Do they genuinely think that women of the 19th century had no interest in academia? There wasn't a single I mean, this is all betrayed by the fact that the book is written by a woman, right? There were women interested in science. There were women interested in medicine. Society worked against them. What you're doing is falling for the propaganda of the time. It seems like pretty much every review is written by James himself. I think James might be the only man using this website. Come on, let's have a look at It Welcome to Derry. I thought that was a fantastic series. I'm a big Stephen King fan. It's rated woke-ish. In some cases, we haven't watched the entire series. It's always a good start for a review. You'll find all the professional critics out there often say the same thing. Listen, this is my job. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I'm still gonna give a review. What we have seen raises major red flags. Diary? Come on. For a show set in a relatively small town in 1946 Maine, it has a remarkable number of black people in positions of authority who are treated with respect and deference. No, it's not. How much did they watch? Just the trailer? A running theme through all of it, I can say this having read the book recently, as well as watched the series and the movies, a running theme is the inherent racism in a small town. It, and loads of other small town stories by Stephen King, are about the small town community and the problems of homophobia and racism that come with them. The idea that somebody watched this show and was like, there's a lot of black people here that people are being nice to, and not the heavy amount of racism that those people are experiencing that is part of the story, is just mind-boggling. You have to be really racist to watch It Welcome to Derry and feel that way. It's just bizarre. There is, of course, the token cartoon racist white guy. There's always cartoon racist white guys in Stephen King stuff. It's a thing. One of the things I can say, despite some of the weird choices that Stephen King makes that I think probably were often maybe drug-induced, there's always a cartoon racist person or people. And they're always the villain. It's a thing you can always say. We know that Stephen King thinks that racists are the bad guys, because even if his people of colour aren't always the best written characters, there's always a bad guy who's really racist. Yeah, there could be more nuance, but the idea that there's also one token racist guy is not true. Like, there's a whole, again, spoilers, obviously, there's a whole KKK element. It's there, I've forgotten what they're called, they're not the KKK, but they're the same. They are the KKK. It's whatever that region of America's equivalent. A massive part of it, if you've ever read it or seen any of the movies or anything, a massive part of that is the burning down of the black military base, which is done by this KKK group. There's not one... The whole point... Right, sorry for getting up on my high horse here, as a Stephen King fan. The whole point of it, the whole point is that Derry is like a character itself. It is that this sort of evil is so prevalent that it takes hold of this small town community, values, and uses that. This darkness kind of pervades everything, and part of the way it's expressed is in these root hatreds. Racism being a primary one, homophobia being a big one. This is just such a weird take. By the end of the episode, we are left with only 2 girls as protagonists. All of the boys are either killed or kidnapped. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's the first episode. They really only watched the first episode before writing this review. It does do this amazing switch around where you're like, okay, these are our protagonists, this is our little band of kids in this current Stephen King universe, and then boom. They completely turn that on its head, and I think that's really interesting. But the fact that it's boys that died and girls that survived means it's woke. They saw that, they were like, well, they're never going to put any more boys in this, there's never going to be any more male characters, so this is woke and I'm not watching anymore. Disclaimer, after about an hour, I more or less stopped taking notes on what was woke because my hands were cramping up. Why are we going to this guy's website for reviews on anything? He's the least professional reviewer I've ever encountered. Okay, quick look at video games. I bet they hate Dispatch. No votes. Why have these on the main page if not to rate them? What about Blueprints? No one. Nothing. Most discussed. What about most discussed? Marvel Spider-Man 2. It's actually been discussed, so let's look. C+, 60% woke. So why is the... Oh, I see. The woke-o-meter is very weirdly designed. I don't know if I agree with that. Okay, people like it. See, that's interesting because I thought it was pretty woke. If you're playing woke bingo, you'll run out of cards. See, this proves a point that I have always said about the anti-woke brigade. Because everything is political, because there's some political angle you can find in every piece of media, whether something is too woke or not largely depends on whether they liked it. This is a good, fun game based on a character that they like. So even though they've identified that there are all these woke stuff throughout it, it doesn't matter because they enjoyed it. That's how little brain power goes into the anti-woke movement. Starfield has a surprisingly high rating. I thought people weren't really into I quite liked it. Okay, a lot of it is a bit boring, but I quite liked it. I thought it didn't do super well. 35% woke. Suffers from a mild infection of the woke mind virus. Woke report. While the woke report in Starfield initially got a lot of press, they are not terribly distracting. You can play a good portion of the game without them being thrown in your face or reinforced. You are forced to select pronouns in order to continue. Although subtle, this is absolutely an intentional encroachment against players who will not answer that question in real life because of the matter of conscience that it represents. And what are your pronouns? I refuse to answer. Okay, then I'm going to call you Zipzorg, because I've got to refer to you by something, and you're not willing to answer a basic question because you're just making life more difficult for yourself. For no reason. Oblivion Remastered has gotten 10% woke. Replaced sex/gender with body type, which drives me nuts! But can't recall anything woke after that. I think the made some of the creature enemies less sexy as well. Bro, this website's hilarious. People that get angry at body options, at character creation options that are completely optional, just blows my mind. If there's a pronoun option, and you want your guy to be a straight man, who's referred to as he, him, you just click he, him, it takes 0.1 second and then you carry on with your life. Or now they call it body type instead of sex. Okay, you still know which one you want, so just click on it and move on. But the agenda! Do you know what? We don't usually mention products of She Who Shall Not Be Named on here, but I'm interested to see what they think about Hogwarts Legacy because A, it got a lot of backlash and boycotting. Just trying to think of the word. It got a lot of boycotting because of J.K. Rowling and her villain era, I'm going to say. But also, I happen to know that it has a trans character in it, voiced, I think, by a trans actor. So I think this is probably a really interesting one for particularly the gender-critical anti-woke brigade, because I bet that, I know, that a lot of people really wanted to support this game because of wanting to support J.K. Rowling, but those people then had to encounter a trans character. So, kind of interested to see. B+, 21% woke. Even with a featured trans character, that's interesting. Gimme the woke report. Parental notes, it's the first time I've seen this. It might be rated T for teens, but there's no way the publishers didn't know that younger people would end up playing it. You can say that about literally any video game. You can say that about any game. Quite frankly, just because it's rated for teens is no excuse. Damn makes a regular appearance in numerous conversations and adds nothing. Damn, not to repeat myself, but grow up. If there's a god that is active in our lives, he has bigger shit to worry about than people saying the word damn. Are you high? Grow up. Oh, I don't know if I want to read this. I will, but skip ahead if you don't want to hear some transphobia. No, there are no trans characters in Hogwarts Legacy, but there is a mentally ill man who mistakenly believes himself to be a woman, and he voices a female character in it. In addition to the character's voice being lower than any male character in the game, there is one lower than any male character. I don't suspect that's true. There's one line about her old classmates not always knowing if she was a witch or a wizard. I tested it on some of my kids, and it seems pretty clear that this virtue-signalling non sequitur will likely be missed by those not looking for it. There is absolutely nothing else in the game to indicate she is anything other than what she appears to be. That's really interesting, because what I've heard is completely the opposite. What I've heard is that this is definitely a trans character voiced by a trans actor. So this guy just, again, enjoyed it, and therefore has decided to reinterpret it. No, this isn't too woke, actually, because I liked it. And so it's fine. How bizarre. Everybody's gotta love Donkey Kong Bonanza. No scores. No scores, no reviews. I can tell you, 10 out of 10, Lots of banana. So many banana. You wouldn't even believe how much banana is in that game. As I doubt it, but has anybody reviewed the Dragon Quest III remake? Oh, somebody has. 50% woke. Oh, that's it. Nobody said anything. That's weird because the Dragon Quest games, I would say, is sort of the opposite of woke. They've got a bit of a... You know, classic Japanese media can be a bit behind the rest of the world in terms of sexism. Mostly the sexism. I love Dragon Quest games. Love them to death. Been playing the 7 remaster lately. Absolutely adore it. But they are a bit sexist. For somebody to call a Dragon Quest game 50% woke makes me just... I desperately want to know what that person thought. There's a shop. They sell things. That is the worst designed t-shirt I've ever seen. Once a great franchise it was. The original trilogy is directly inspired by, directly modelled on, the Vietnam War. The Empire is modelled after the Nazis in World War II. It's always been anti-fascist. It's just that now, in the time where modern Star Wars movies and series are coming out, this kind of anti-woke person is pro-fascist. They're pro-modern neo-fascism, if you will, and therefore they call it woke. Oh, now the series is bad because it still calls out the same fascism it used to, it's just that now I'm on the fascist side. Cool stuff. Oh, also now Star Wars has women in it. More women, fewer bikinis. Sounds woke to me. Well, that was worth it or woke. I hope you found that enlightening. I certainly did. The main thing I took away from this is that I wouldn't trust the creator of this website around my children. And also that he appears to be the only consistent reviewer on this website. Seems to be like him and 3 guys that use this website. He is one of the worst film critics whose work I've ever read. Even if you were going to use it to see what are they saying is woke so that I can watch that and support it, I wouldn't even use it in that way because barely anybody has reviewed any films on here. It's not worth giving it the traffic, honestly. You'll spend 5 minutes on it, come across something horrendously sexist, and then feel dirty for the rest of the day. Thanks very much for watching. Do you like this video? If you liked it, leave your thoughts down below. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Go to my channel, check out some playlists. Head to my gaming channel, Little Duck Gaming. I play all kinds of crazy woke games over there. Can't think of an example right now, but just you'll find them. If you like what I do here and you want to support this channel, do consider sharing the video. That helps a lot. Leave your thoughts down below. Check out today's sponsor using the link down below. The best way to support this channel is via the Patreon. That's patreon.com/EmmaThorneVideos. With that, I must give a big old thank you and a shout out to my giant chickens and colossal quackers over on Patreon. Especially Conla. God damn it, Conla. I blasphemed. Most importantly, have yourselves a very lovely week, and I will see you really soon.